Hey, what is up, people? It is your boy Johnny. In today's video, we have a new review for the new King Kong 2 Pro controller by Gulikit. One of the things that I want to mention right before I start reviewing this controller is that they indeed sent me this product. So thank you, Gulikit, for sending me this product. They did not pay me or anything. They just sent me the product for review, which I will be giving my honest opinion on this controller. Now, this controller is a product that is mainly meant for the Nintendo Switch, but it also works with PC and as well as Android phones and iPhone, I believe. So stay tuned for the rest of the video so we can go ahead and talk about this controller. Let's go ahead and unbox the controller. This is the King Kong 2 Pro controller. I believe it is compatible with PC, Xbox, and several other consoles as well, not just a Nintendo Switch. But I would say it's more specifically a Nintendo Switch controller because it's advertised more towards the Switch. It definitely says that there is no drifting, so that's a pretty cool thing. We've been seeing a lot of controllers drift with the Nintendo Switch, and I think the PlayStation 5 also had some sort of drift in the controller. So let's go ahead and look at the boxing. The boxing looks pretty nice. I think this is more high quality boxing than other controllers out there. Usually when I got a PlayStation 5 controller or a Nintendo Switch Pro controller, they were just plastic boxes, and this one is a solid boxes. So it features a new patented electromagnetic sticks, highly accurate and long life, new patented long life button, excellent conductive rubber feel, special steel ring on the stick, smooth, just feeling just right as you see. Hall sensing, ZR, ZL buttons, highly accurate, contactless, long life, and perfect hand feeling. Support semi-auto and auto continuous shooting, always one step ahead of the game. And yeah, it's a controller for multiple platforms. It has a built-in acceleration sensor, 6-axis gyroscope to support motion sensing on the Switch. So if you've ever played like race games, basically that's what it is. Kind of similar to what the PlayStation 3 controller had back in the day. And it supports vibration adjustments for several different games. Almost no power consumption on standby, and it has a large lithium battery. I believe they boasted it that it lasts a really long time, so that's a good thing that it is a battery that lasts a long time. Perfect ergonomic grip feel, easy for long time gaming, dual vibration motors for vivid gaming feeling, and it has support to connect to amiibo, so that's actually pretty cool. I haven't really tried a controller with support to amiibo, but this one does have amiibo support, so it's definitely good for the Nintendo Switch. Clear side face LED for work indications, support wired and wireless connection. Adjustable sensitivity of ZRL and ZL buttons. Okay, so when you shoot, special APG key, learn your operations one setup to the unique skill, game currency acquisition, and more playing ways. Maximum record time 10 minutes. Share function of autopilot recording, easy to export, import autopilot. So it's kind of has like a bot thing feature where it autopilots everything, learns your gaming habits, and it will play automatically for you. I want to see how that works. That's pretty interesting. And then support stick sensitivity adjustments, no worries about crosshair aiming. Special motion sense aiming technology, support for best FPS gaming. So let's go ahead and open the box and see what it looks like inside. So it looks pretty cool. It brings this little box right here, which is I believe this might be like the USB or so. Yep, it is the USB. So it's a pretty long USB. So that's pretty awesome that they have that. And the case looks really cool. I mean, it brings like this protector case. I guess you can keep it. So if you have it like stored somewhere where you're not using it, you probably won't damage it, or it's just for aesthetics. But I personally think it is for protection, so that way your controller won't get damaged when you're using it. So that is pretty cool. So that's the controller itself, and it does feel like a premium controller. It doesn't feel like those sloppy controllers that you buy from third parties. And you get a sticker as well, which is pretty cool. You get like a manual. It tells you the technology of the Gulikit magnetic sticks right there. and the Gulikit button. Tells you stuff like that. Detachable mount, power bank, or other stuff products that they sell. This is other products that they sell, so that's what it tells you. Yeah, it just shows you the products that they have for sale as well. They have a lot of Nintendo Switch stuff, which is pretty cool. We're big Nintendo Switch fans here. And it tells you, okay, so this is the manual, and it comes in different languages, and it tells you how to pair it on the Switch and everything, pair it on the computer. So it does have Bluetooth, so that's a pretty good thing, because I mean, who doesn't use it for Bluetooth? And it tells you Android, iOS, Mac OS devices. It tells you everything, and it tells you the APG, which is the Autopilot gaming, which I was mentioning it, that if you can start recording your gameplays and then it'll Autopilot gaming. I don't know what that will be the use for. And it has different modes: professional player mode, short vibration, start professional mode, long vibration, cancel back to default, repeated shooting, one vibration. Okay, so it can do automatic shooting, I believe, and you can also change the buttons as well. And then you can also share Autopilot files for the game that you're playing. So let's say if you're a Pokemon, you could like automatically make it trade Pokemon. That's what I would think. That's actually pretty cool though, I'm not gonna lie. You can set up something where it does autopilot by itself, kind of like a mini bot, kind of if you ever had a something that does it by itself. So that's actually something that's really cool. I don't know exactly how that will work, but that is pretty nice to see. We'll go ahead and continue it. Let's go ahead and, okay, so you can calibrate it, motion sense, and aim in PC. So it does have the motion sense that you can, and you can clear all settings. That's pretty cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab the controller because I want to show you guys a little bit more on how it looks. So as you guys can see, it really does feel good. It definitely feels premium. It doesn't feel like those cheap plastic controllers that you sometimes buy. It really does feel good. The joysticks are really strong. So it did mention that the joysticks were pretty good, their technology, and you know, it feels really good. It doesn't feel too bad. It feels like they will last a long time. As I'm grabbing this controller here, BA button, the buttons feel solid. These buttons are pretty good too as well. The D-pad is not bad at all. So yeah, and then you got these metal ones over here. The triggers don't feel bad either. I would have expected it to be a little bigger, but it is kind of small. Does feel kind of small of a controller, but not exactly. I don't have the Xbox controller here with me, but I will do a comparison to the other controllers to see. Maybe it's just me, but it does feel really good. It's definitely high quality, especially the joysticks and the buttons. They click really well. So we're gonna go ahead and continue the review to the next part. So I decided to go ahead and lay out all of the current generation controllers that we have for the consoles: the PlayStation 5, the Xbox, and as well as the Nintendo Switch Pro controller. And as you guys can see, I was actually a bit wrong. This is actually a pretty big controller. It's about the same as all of these controllers. So yeah, it's definitely pretty good for people with bigger hands. And you can really feel the difference in the joysticks. This is one of the features that they mentioned a lot. They're definitely more solid than these other controllers that get drift all the time. They just feel more solid. So it is more of a solid build and more premium. And the buttons as well. Especially when you compare it to the Nintendo Switch Pro controller, it just feels a little bit more cheaper. And when you have this one in your hand, it just feels more premium as well. Another cool thing that I noticed here, it tells you an indicator of the Nintendo Switch, the Windows, Android, or whatever you're using at the moment. So that, I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, it definitely does feel premium, I gotta say. One thing that I have to mention right off the bat is that when you first start off with the controller, if you don't have any troubles to connecting it to your PC, as you guys can see right here, This button right here will allow you to switch the mode that you need it for. So right now it's on the Nintendo Switch mode, but if you hold it down, you can go ahead and change the mode. So I'm just gonna go ahead and move it once, and that will allow me to go into Windows mode, which will allow it to be detected by my computer. So if you want to use it on your PC, that's what you have to do. And as you guys can see, it also has an Android mode as well by holding it down, and a different one for PC as well that I really don't understand what the difference between that one. So anyways, as you guys may have noticed already, I connected it to my PC, and we're gonna go ahead and do a controller test on this website. And as you guys can see, my controller has been detected. And then basically you can go ahead and test the controller to see if there's a drift or any of that sort of stuff that you guys can see. So let's go ahead and do a controller test. Alright, so it hasn't detected it because I think I did something where I had changed it. It should detect it now. Quickly check your game controller if it's ready. And basically, as you guys can see this image on the screen, you can test out the buttons. Everything works. B, A, it's already come set up. As you guys can see that, okay, so that's the share button, which we do not need right now on the PC for, all right, so let's go ahead and take that off. And then as you guys can see, it has everything that a Xbox controller normally does. And if you were drifting, you would see the analog move around by itself, but that is not the case here. As you guys can see, everything is moving pretty good on the screen. So I'm not seeing any type of drift like in the Joy-Cons or other controllers. If you see a drift, you normally see your controller just like kind of like moving a little bit, even if it's just a little bit. But right now I'm moving it completely manually, and as you guys can see, everything looks pretty good on here as well. You don't really see any movement. The triggers and everything is detected, as you guys can see right here. So yeah, the controller does pass the drift test. And I was surprised that on PC it kind of detects it as a X input, as an Xbox 360 controller. That's not a bad thing because you know, on PC there's a lot of games that are widely available with the Xbox 360 controllers natively, so that's a big plus. And it also has the vibration and everything that I just tested, and it definitely is there as well. So let's go ahead and now move over to the consoles to go ahead and test the controller further. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and switch it into the Nintendo Switch mode. As you guys can see, every time we switch to a different console, we have to go ahead and press this button, or PC, and then you get to press the pair button right here, which is right here, guys. We're gonna go ahead and do that, and then we're gonna go ahead and actually switch to it and pair it on the Nintendo Switch. Let's go to pair controllers where we need to and see if it detects it. Pairing new controllers, done. Okay, so I gotta view other pairing methods. You could also do it with the USB cable, which I probably should have done. But let's go ahead and see view other pairing methods. Alright, so there we go. Alright, let's continue pressing the sync button. Maybe I didn't do it right. Alright, yeah, I didn't do it right. Alright, so there we go. It should pair soon. Alright. It's been a while since I paired a Nintendo Switch controller. There we go. It's actually paired. Sorry about that. Alright, so we paired it. We went ahead and paired it. And we're going to go ahead and test out. Alright, there we go. Keep forgetting the buttons on here. It's a different setup on the buttons, and we're gonna go ahead and play Mario Kart. I think Mario Kart is more of an appropriate game to play, simply because it will show us everything we need to about the controller. So man, just feeling this controller in the hand just feels really good overall. It's like really comfortable in the hand. I really don't feel like it's bad at all. And as you guys can see, everything is pretty smooth. So I haven't gotten the, what's it called, the Mario Kart DLC yet. But let's go ahead and go into the Grand Prix. And let's go ahead do a simple race. Let's go ahead and use my favorite character. And then I'm probably going to do the Autopilot gaming as well, because I wanted to test the Autopilot gaming as well on this controller. Which you leave it for 10 minutes and it'll do Autopilot gaming for some reason. It'll record it. It's this button right here in the middle. You press it for 3 seconds and it'll record it, and after the 10 minutes it'll have your gameplay recorded, which will then automatically record it, and then it will do the controls by itself. So that's pretty cool. So I want to see how smart it is to learn that when it does that. So let's go ahead and start it. I don't really want, oh, you can put the tilt controls. All right, so let's see if how that works. That's kind of like with the gyro smart steering off. Probably not gonna do really good right here because I'm testing out the controller. Okay, so that looks pretty much it. One thing I do want to do is I want to do the record. We're gonna go ahead and lower that screen. So one thing I do want to do is I want to record the gameplay automatically, and I might even skip ahead later on, but let's go ahead and press it. In the guide it says 1 2 3, and you should feel a vibration when that happens. So I did feel the vibration, and it's now I'm controlling it. It's recording my gameplay, so it feels good. So the gyro does work pretty well, as you guys can see. It is working pretty well, as you guys can see. So yeah, that's pretty cool. It does work. That is definitely a premium feature. I don't really see this feature much on third-party controllers. I know some have them, but for this one to have it is pretty cool as well, and it feels really, really good. So yeah, probably don't want to use the smart steering right now because I am recording at the moment, but everything feels solid on the controller. I'm not gonna lie, it really does feel good. It feels really premium. So yeah, as you guys can see, I am doing a pretty good job, and I'm probably gonna, at some point in the video, I'm probably gonna stop and then test out the whenever the feature for autopilot gaming is done, because it does record your gameplay session for like 10 minutes. I'm going to test it out again later to see how that actually works. It's supposed to give you a vibration, a small vibration when it's done recording, and then you press the autopilot button, which is in the middle, and it will continue doing autopilot for you on the next game that you start playing, or whenever it's done, it'll play the game automatically by itself. So I don't know if it's mainly due for just mainly like sharing gameplays or doing automated tasks on the game, like shiny hunting and Pokemon or something like that, or it actually learns itself. The controller's AI actually learns the game movements and what it has to do when it's playing the game. I don't know if it will work for Mario Kart, because Mario Kart, as you guys can see, it is moving on its own a lot, and it's throwing like shells and stuff like that. It's more randomly, so it's just an interesting feature that's there. I think it's more directed aiming to, like, if you need to farm something in a game, and that it will automatically do that on itself. That's kind of like what I'm thinking that feature is for. Not entirely sure, but I think that's what it is mainly for certain things that autopilot itself that you can farm. Like, let's say you need to grind your level up in the game, and it's pretty straightforward when it comes to the grinding. Then the controller will automatically do it for you. So that's what my understanding will be on the autopilot gaming that they claim to have. which is a pretty cool feature, I guess. Only if it works well. But either way, everything that I'm feeling right now on the controller is like solid. This is definitely one of my favorite controllers to play on the Nintendo Switch now. I haven't really had... I had a couple of third-party controllers, and they were okay. But for the most part, this definitely feels like the better one that they actually built on the Nintendo Switch. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop recording here, and I'll show you guys when the autopilot is completely done in this controller. Alright, so I kind of recorded a pretty good amount of time for autopilot, so we're gonna go ahead and test it out and see if it does the job. Alright, so I stopped pressing it right now, and I stopped the recording process and see what it actually does. So let's go ahead and I actually have to take off smart steering. Leave it on. Let's see. No, the tilt is the tilt. So let's go ahead and take the tilt off. Alright. So let's go ahead and press it. You're supposed to press the autopilot button. That way it can autopilot itself. As you guys can see, yeah, it's kind of iffy, I would say, for the most part. It does work, but I think this is going to work more for games where everything is automated. And I could probably leave Mario Kart on autopilot if I put smart steering. Let's go ahead and leave it with smart steering. And okay, so to enable it again, you have to press the button again for it to do it on its own. So as you guys can see, now it's moving on its own, but it has smart steering on there. And I also removed the tilt controls, and it's driving the car itself, but it is going kind of slow. As you guys can see, it's doing it all by itself. I wouldn't say it's the best thing. Like I said, I don't think Mario Kart is the appropriate game for this feature. It does work with it, but I think it's more appropriate for games such as where you're going to be farming. It could be like Pokemon, if you're battling Pokemon in the wild, stuff like that. I also don't think it was my best recording of the gameplay, but it is working. As you guys can see, the autopilot feature is working though. So I mean, if you're somebody that's trying to shiny hunt or do some specific commands or controls that you want to have an order or its own order of stuff like button key presses and everything, I guess you could go ahead and do that on the controller, and it will memorize it every single time. I may go ahead and test this out on link trades to see if it can actually record it by itself. As for Mario Kart, it is working pretty well though, so I think that's a big plus, because I mean, it's doing what it's supposed to, so it's not completely not doing the task. I'm going to test out a couple more of these autopilots for Pokemon. For example, I want to see if it actually is capable of... As you guys can see, I just used the mushroom, so it does recognize the items from time to time. Not exactly the smartest way, but it just used one of the mushrooms on its own. So yeah, I want to go ahead and test it out on another game like Pokemon, if it will trade Pokemon on its own. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do that. As you guys can see, it's using all the inputs that I put on it, and as you guys can see, it did use its own. And you can also take over control of it anytime, so as long as you press a button on the controller, it will do everything on its own as well. So as you guys can see right there, it is starting to catch up. I kind of did put it a little bit too late, but it is catching up at least to 11th or 10th place, which is pretty bad, but I mean, I didn't put it in at the right time. But it's doing its thing. It's doing its thing. It just can't get out of stuff like that with the grass. But eventually it does its thing, as you guys can see. it's somewhat doing it by itself. I guess if you're playing certain courses, it could definitely be automated on its own. I don't know why it stopped there. I think it's because it moved something, but then you can repress it again and it starts over. Alright, so now I'm going to do a little bit more of a different test where I feel like this could actually apply more to. I went ahead and booted up Pokemon Legends Arceus, and we're going to return to Jubilife Village. And basically, I'm going to go ahead and record link trades. I'm going to do like 2 link trades and see if it can memorize the steps on its own and then be able to actually trade Pokemon on its own. This is the case scenario that I find that will be most useful for this controller, or certain games where you had to grind levels. For example, we're just wanting to set up like a trade bot. It's kind of like a trade bot where it automatically would trade Pokemon to other people. So I find this will be pretty interesting. So I'm going to go ahead and hold it 3 seconds as well. And we're gonna go ahead and talk to it. I want to trade Pokemon, someone far away, connection saved. Let's go ahead and do 111, or yeah, let's go ahead and do 111 as a code. Let's see if it works. It's recording my presses, so let's go ahead and continue. And it's searching for a trade partner. I'm pretty sure 111 is a very common code, so there will definitely be people who are trading automatically. So let's go ahead and give them one of these Pokemon and see if they accept. Trade it. They want an Eevee. I don't have an Eevee. Well, that's the problem. I think I'm gonna do it locally then. Oh, well, they accepted my trade, so it doesn't really matter. So that should have recorded my trade, and let's see if it does it on its own. I'm going to end the command presses after it's done. After it's done the trade completely, and then let's see if it actually works. This is where it will get interesting to see if it actually inputs what I am telling it to do. Can definitely see the usage of this, and like I said, there will be different things that you can share online. According to the manual, you'll be able to share like a lot of stuff with other people. For example, alright, so now let's see if it does it on its own. Want to trade Pokemon, and right now guys, I'm not doing absolutely nothing. The controller is working it out by itself, and as you guys can see, the input is going in, but it kind of it's kind of going slow for some reason. Oh, but it worked. It worked. The input is doing it by itself. Let's see if it manages to trade the next Pokemon on the list by itself. So I can definitely see the case scenario for it. I'm not even controlling it at the moment, and it's probably gonna offer up a Pokemon. You probably want to go ahead and do it more accurately later on, but it's working, guys. I mean, it's working. Communicating standby. The other guy probably doesn't want to trade me, but it chose not to continue trading. So this is where it has a problem, because there's always people that don't want to trade. But I mean, you get the idea. It did that all on its own. So that's a big plus for me on this controller. And on the manual, it says that the people will be sharing like different different setups or key presses. I would say key press, where you can share Autopilot game files. If you put it with the USB auto.apg, which is a recording file for the Autopilot gaming, and you'll be able to share it with your friends and others as well. So if somebody has a correct way of putting the right key presses at the right time, you'll be able to share it with other people online. So I think that is definitely a neat feature, and this is where I personally think it's something that can be useful in the future for other people. So it's kind of like a bot, I would say, kind of like a bot It's running on its own with the controller's integration on it. Definitely like that feature. I think that is definitely one of the highlights of this controller, and I think they definitely did a good job with the autopilot feature. I just hope it improves better where other people are sharing pretty awesome files that they can share online, which will allow them to do the task more easily if you are not that good at doing the key presses that you want the controller for you to have on its own. Alright, so now we're going to be testing out the controller on an FPS game, and I just want to mention is that I'm not the most professional at FPS games, so I just want to see how it feels while playing an FPS game. I gotta say, it feels really good to play it on it. It has really good vibration while you're shooting at the enemies, and I know that it has like rapid fire, or I believe something like rapid fire continuous firing when you're playing an FPS game. But I gotta say, the sticks and everything feels really well, very accurate as well. That's what I like about the controller. It's got really good aiming. I already got 2 kills. I'm doing pretty well with this controller. I think they did a really good job on here. Now I finally got owned. Like I said, I'm not a pro at any means by a FPS game. So yeah. But I do like the way it feels. It feels really good while playing Halo Infinite. I have played this game a little bit, and it does feel good. I think it even feels better than the Xbox controller, to be honest. So yeah, I definitely would recommend it if you're into FPS games, because I mean, it's going pretty well with this controller. I like the feel of it. It's doing pretty good, and I'm getting my enemies with not with such like it feels like a lag or anything. Nope, no lags there at all. So yeah, I actually like this controller. I think this is going to be my main controller even for PC FPS. I mean, I played with the Xbox controller previously, but I mean, I like the way this one feels even a little bit more than the Xbox. And as you guys can see, I didn't really have an issue right there aiming at the enemy. Unfortunately, I got into a match where it had already began, but man, I already went on a killing spree with this controller. So yeah, I mean, I do play Halo quite a bit. I'm not a pro by any means, but I mean, I'm doing pretty fine with the controller while playing it Halo. So yeah, but finally that dude got me. Well, somebody had to take me down. I'm not really good with the BRs. I'm more good with the pistols. But as you guys can see me playing on the webcam, it feels just like a normal controller. Well, not a normal controller. There's a shift. The sticks feel more accurate. Everything doesn't feel like it's gonna fall off or it's gonna drift at all. And the buttons have like a really good responsive time. Like everything, I feel like it responds a little bit better than other controllers. Because I mean, the buttons just feel good. The D-pad as well is pretty good. Now, I feel like this controller definitely has a lot of the premium features that you want to see in the controller. Like I can't say much for the FPS gamers out there because I'm not a professional or anybody that has really ever used like a SCUF controller or stuff, so I couldn't really compare it to that. I mainly play on the Nintendo Switch, and I casually play in FPS games every once in a while. But I am impressed with the controller so far. The shooting in this one does definitely feel better. I think this is definitely one of the better controllers I've used on PC. So that's a major plus for me and anybody who's actually trying to purchase this controller. I do like it. So yeah, it gets a thumbs up for me on the FPS game mode. Alright, I wasn't able to get that guy. Now I'm going to share my final thoughts on the controller and whether I recommend you buy it or not. So one of the things that I want to mention first is that the controller is priced $69 on Amazon, and I believe there is a $5 coupon off right now on Amazon for a limited amount of time, so it won't last forever. I'll be putting that link in the description if you want to get this controller. So what do I personally think about the controller? I am going to have to go with a 9 out of 10 and have to say that I do indeed recommend this controller over the Nintendo's Pro controller. I feel that this controller was targeted for Nintendo users more, and as well as the PC gamers for a certain extent. I mean, it's really good on Halo Infinite. I was playing the FPS game on there and it was really good. It had really good aiming and accuracy. So I could definitely see somebody who uses an Xbox controller for their PC that they might want to use this one instead of the other controller that they use for the Xbox controller. If you're using controllers on PC, I know some people use keyboards, but if you're using a controller, I definitely would recommend it for PC as well, because it really did feel good on Halo Infinite, and that's a FPS game. Now, when I was mentioning that it was mainly targeted for the Nintendo Switch, I feel like it is a big advantage over the Nintendo Pro controller. They're around the same price. I have to tell you that this controller does not feel like a cheap product at all. It feels like a premium controller. It has a premium build. It feels like anything that you would get out of OEM products, and perhaps even better than the Nintendo Switch Pro controller. One of the reasons is mainly the analog sticks. The analog sticks just feel really good, and when you try this controller in person, those analog sticks feel really accurate, and you're not getting any joystick drift. They claim that there won't be any joystick drift, and I've been using the controller for a while now, and I have not experienced any type of joystick drift. So that's a good thing, in my opinion, because a lot of controllers have drift, which it can be an issue and it can be quite annoying. So if you're looking for a premium controller over the Nintendo Switch's controller, I think this is a better choice than a Pro controller. I mean, it has a lot of features. I mean, you have features if you're into FPS games that you can use it on your PC. And if you want to go ahead and use Autopilot gaming, I think that's really cool. I think Autopilot gaming in this controller is pretty cool, because it's kind of like having a Raspberry Pi connected to your Nintendo Switch and doing automated controls or several different things. That is one of the features that I did like about this controller, that you can automate stuff. And if you know how to shiny hunt and you know how to do automation really well, you could probably automate this controller to do certain stuff when it comes to shiny hunting or grinding up levels in an RPG game. And that's why I personally like this controller a lot. I think it does an extremely awesome job in the Autopilot. Now, I'm not saying it's 100% perfect. I mean, there's some things that could be fixed. Maybe in the future they allow us to share files on their website where the whole community can post different profiles for different stuff that they can do. Or if there is a large enough community in the future, you could probably share with other people as well. But I mean, I can't say that it is a bad thing, because it does give you the flexibility of sharing with a community out there the same files for Autopilot on games, and I really like that. And on top of it, it is a controller that does everything that the Pro controller would do on the Nintendo Switch. Just think of it as a better premium quality product for the Nintendo Switch. And I really like the controller. I definitely think I'm going to be using this as my main controller for now. It definitely beats out my Xbox controller in my opinion, and as well as my Nintendo Switch Pro controller. So it's going to be my main controller for now on, and I wasn't paid by Gulikit or nothing. I just feel that way about the controller. It's really good. I really do like the fact that the battery does indeed last a pretty good amount. I usually have some controllers that I have to continue recharging, and the thing that I like, that even on standby, you're not really forced to charge it very often. So that's a big plus for me. I really like this controller, and I do recommend it. So anyways, thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed the review and saw an extensive look at this premium controller. I'll leave you the link in the description where you can purchase it on Amazon. And thanks to Gulikit for sending me out this controller for review. I do recommend the controller. And peace out.